the level of mental toughness and emotional resilience that a person has is in direct proportion to the level of difficulties a person has faced in his life. Because at the end of the day, what matters the most is that how much ability and capacity do you have to stay graceful under pressure, to stay graceful under stress. And when we say graceful, that means not compromising on the values that you have, not compromising the principle that you have, and not compromising on the non negotiables that you have crafted for yourself and for those people who are around you. So at the end of the day, your emotional health is directly dependent upon your ability to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. Now, what happens is that in these times, especially the younger generations that we are witnessing today, those people who are in their teenagers, they either have a very strong feminine control in the environment in which they're living, or they have very weak feminine men around them who they perceive as their role model. And that is becoming the main reason behind their downfall. Now, what do I mean by the downfall? It means that they don't know the masculine methods, techniques, and tactics and strategies that they can use in order to build their emotional muscle. They don't know how to react in stressful situations like a man and how to sustain that pressure and keep moving forward anyway. Now, this is a skill that every person should have. Every man who is living on this planet and he wants to build an exceptional life must know how to control his inner world. He must know how to control his emotional turbulences and to use that passive energy and to channelize that energy in such a way that that energy can actually help him to move forward. But unfortunately, these things are not happening these days. We look at the young individuals who is 15 years old or 16 years old or 17 years old, and he's living his life on two extremes. At one extreme, he is trying to follow those people who are like famous singers, social media influencers, rappers, and they're trying to build this projection into the minds of those young generations that the life should be like the life of a gangster. It should be like you must have a lot of cars and you must have a lot of social influence, and that's how you will be perceived as a man of high value. On the other extreme, we have weak feminine men, those men who actually tell you to kill the man that you have inside of you and to actually become ashamed of being a man because you have been so repressive, your ancestors has been so repressive, and you have actually abdicated the rights of the women, and now you should not be proud of being a man, and you should actually adopt those feminine characteristics, and you should become a man who is deeply influenced by the feminine values of nurturing and caring. But the caveat of that, or the downside of that, is that when a man tries to become a woman, he loses his ability to fulfill his obligations that are required by him for being a man. And in that way, he actually loses his purpose for life. He loses that juice, that ambition, that aggression which is within him that he is becoming ashamed of right now. And what is happening is that he doesn't know how to respond because everything that he's trying to do is basically going quite the contrary to all the masculine values and principles upon which his existence is made, his existence is standing. And so what happens is that this confusion is found among this existing young generation because one, they don't have a lot of strong feminine ideals around them who are going to guide them to do those things which are supposed to be done regardless of how they feel. So they don't know how to build that emotional, that mental stamina and that resilience that can actually help them to bounce back from anything which is happening around them. And they should be able to create a distance between their feelings and their actions. They don't have any idea how to do it. And on the other hand, they are looking at those people who are flexing on these poor or middle class young individuals, and they're trying to make them realize that that's the life that they should live. But what they are doing is that they are getting impressed by the effect, and they don't know the cause of that effect. Gaining power, gaining fame, gaining money is basically a form of happiness when you become content. when you have a lot of resources to take care of all those people who are around you, when you have access to all those luxuries which are important to give you the kind of pleasures that you're looking for. But the downside of that is that in order to gain those things, you need a lot of mental weapons in your arsenal, and without them, you will not be able to get them. Now, there can be a lot of shortcuts to get those things that you're looking for, but at the end of the day, they're not going to help you to build your personality and your character to such an extent where you can pursue fulfillment. So, at the end of the day, your first goal should not be to gain the luxuries that you're looking for. Your first goal should be absolutely hyper focused on building your willpower to such an extent that it becomes indestructible. It becomes so invincible that everything in the inside world, everything in the inner world can be broken, but nothing in the outer world is going to change. That's how remarkably you need to build your mental toughness and your willpower and your emotional resilience. Now, the question is that why should you even aim for that? Or why should you become strong? Because at the end of the day, what you need to understand is that strength is something which we need, which we strive for, and which we crave for from an evolutionary perspective. Because survival is purely based upon strength. Survival of the fittest is an undeniable truth of life. If you're not strong, if you're not protected by strong individuals, and if you don't have the strength to cooperate with those strong individuals in order to keep your unity intact and your survival ensured, you're going to die. And no human being on this planet wants to die. Evolution has built us in a way that every fiber of our being wants to live. And that life can only be ensured when you are powerful beyond measure. You will have to become powerful in all realms of human endeavor. And you will have to build an invincible wall around you where nothing can break you. But the first wall that you need to build is obviously the wall of emotions, because emotions serve as indicators. Their job is to make you realize that there is something significant which is missing in your life. Their job is to tell you that there is a significant portion of your life which is being deprived of all the nourishment and all the development that it needed, and it wants to be developed. And the time of developing it is right now. So when you don't have that kind of stamina within you in order to realize that the development of that goal is going to take time, that's where the problem starts. That's where you need to work first. And if you're not willing to work over there, this is something which is going to take a very big toll on your ability to take benefit of the opportunities which have been given to you by nature and by your environment. So gaining emotional strength must be the first goal that you should be looking for. Everything else comes secondary. This is something which needs to be taken care of in the first place. Now, in order to build this emotional strength, you have two weapons within your arsenal. Number one is your mental awareness, and number two is your willpower. Now, your mental awareness and your willpower, some of you people who are familiar with the psychological principles and psychological concepts, you will see that there is not a lot of difference between these two. But technically, there is a difference. Becoming mentally aware means that you become aware of the fact that whenever you're trying to do something which requires a lot of focus, a lot of dedication, and a lot of commitment on your behalf, what you are going to see is that your mind will constantly, frequently, in regular intervals, or interrupt you in some erratic ways, and it will try to manipulate you and deceive you into believing that whatever you are doing has no value, or it is not going to create the kind of results that you're looking for, or you should look for something else, or you should procrastinate on those tasks which are supposed to be performed on regular basis, or which is going to tell you that you are being exhausted physically and you need to get out of the situation and you should chill for a moment. All of these times when your mind is trying to deceive you, all of those times when your mind is trying to manipulate you into believing that whatever you are doing is not going to create a kind of results that you're looking for, and it is going to increase your frustration. When that frustration occurs, that's the time when you catch your mind manipulating you red handed. And when you catch your mind once, you catch your mind on the second time and the third time and the fourth time. and make it a habit. Keep a counter with yourself. Keep a counter on your finger. And the moment you see that your mind is trying to convince you otherwise, click it. That's the time when you have caught your mind trying to defeat you. And do it multiple times a day. Whenever your mind does that and you notice it, click. And when you do that, you will see that your brain will start, you will see that your mind constantly tries to deceive you and tries to deviate you from the path that you have chosen for yourself. Now, for the first day, you will see that it will be hundreds of times. But as you keep noticing it, you will see that your mind will start losing its ability to create that psychological and limbic friction which it needs in order to keep you under its control. And once you start gaining back your control, once you start gaining your control back, what's going to happen is that the other side is going to get weaker. And once that manipulative side is going to get weaker, you will start believing yourself more. You will start believing yourself more. You will start having that self confidence, that self esteem, the self love, your self care. Everything will start leveling up because now you are gaining control over your instincts. Now you are gaining control over your emotions. Now you are gaining control over the temptations which are causing you to stay behind and let others surpass you. So when you start becoming aware of what is happening around you or what your mind is doing to you, that's the time when you start gaining control over it. Now, the other weapon that you have in your arsenal is willpower. And the willpower can only be developed in one way. And that is that whenever you start something, don't leave it until you finish it. So finish what you start and stay mentally aware of all the deceptions and manipulation tactics which have been used by your mind in order to control you. So once you can do that effectively, you will see that with the passage of time and gradually you will start to notice that there will be a sense of inner peace within you. No matter what is happening in the outside world, no matter how chaotic your surroundings are, what you will try to notice, or what you will start noticing, is that your mind will become more and more calm because it will know that no matter what happens in the outside world, you have the power now that your internal world will not be shaken by the circumstances in the outside world. And when you achieve that sense of mental stability, that's what we called stoicism. That's when you have absolutely gained control over everything which is within your mind. And now there is nothing in the inside world which is going to stop you from doing those things which are important. And when you can do that, the enemies in the external world are not as strong as they seem to be when there is no enemy within. And so I will end this video with this African proverb which says, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Until next time, peace.